You're listening to Bloomberg Businessweek with Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
Hey, never too late to be talking about a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, maybe things like eating better, getting more sleep,
As
working
we just
out more.
munched on our popcorn.
Yeah, hey, popcorn's okay. Maybe a New Year's resolution for you, Carol, is learning another language.
Yeah, I could kind of brush up on my Spanish.
You have so much spare time.
Yeah, exactly. I can multitask. Well, there are plenty of online platforms out there to help you do that. Among them, though, is Babbel, the Berlin-based company that does exactly that, helps you learn a new language.
Well, we've got back with us Julie Hansen, the U.S. CEO of Babbel. It's a role that she's had since 2017. We should note, Julie also the former COO and president of Business Insider. It's a role that she served in when Axel Springer bought BI back in 2015, valued the company for $450 million. Julie joins us on Zoom from New York. Julie, good to have you with us this afternoon. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, Tim and Carol.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for coming back here. So I kind of made this joke about having so much spare time there, but at the same time, the whole point of the app-based companies that help you learn another language is that you kind of do them when you do have a few minutes. Talk to us a little bit about how you differentiate Babbel in a marketplace that has Rosetta Stone, it has Duolingo. There's, so many options out there for people to learn another language.
You're right, there are. And it is a great New Year's resolution. So I love that Carol is on it. And
Trying.
One thing, we do say that with Babbel, you only need like 10 to 15 minutes a day. And that's actually really important because you'll do better learning consistently versus binge learning. I think it's probably like studying for a test in college. You want to keep going with a daily habit versus one giant study session. But Babbel is very much about learning efficacy. We are about getting you conversational. It's not comparable to college in that sense. We understand that our users want to learn a language to speak it and use it in their lives, not to pass a test necessarily. So that's the focus. We use a lot of human intelligence augmented by some artificial intelligence, but the role of teachers in creating our product has been super important over the years. And we now have teachers actually giving live lessons in our Babbel Live product. So I think that's a quick way to think about Babbel.
What about from the perspective of a business that needs its employees to brush up on a new language or learn a new language? Because there's a business side of this too, in terms of where the revenue comes from, at least here in the U.S., your U.S. CEO, of course. What is personal use of it versus business and enterprise use?
Absolutely, the fastest growing portion of our business is the B2B business, the business use. And that's very interesting in the US. It's quite different from the use case we see in Europe. So in the US, we really have one main use case or two languages that together make up a main use case. So English speakers learning Spanish, Spanish speakers learning English. We have many different industries that we serve, but we're clearly seeing a trend toward those industries that have a large proportion of Spanish-speaking workers in them. So that can be anything from healthcare, even to like manufacturing, construction. And it's interesting. And baseball, by the way, we have something like 8 MLB teams working with us, and
Oh, wow.
it's bilateral. We find workers learning English, managers learning Spanish. To generalize, there can be a mix of those two, of course, but that's the general trends. And that definitely ties in with the trends we see in the US in consumer, where Spanish is by far our biggest language.
Are you seeing this added at all as a workplace perk? Like companies that are saying, come work for us because we believe in continuing education and we'll pay for you. Like, for example, here at Bloomberg, now we have virtual physical therapy. That's new this year. I think I should talk about that. I hope I don't get in trouble for talking about it. I think it's a pretty cool, new thing. But would an HR department ever say, we want to attract and retain talent? One way we can do that is by offering Babbel. Do any companies do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a little more so in Europe than here, but it's a good
interesting.
use case in both cases. For example, we work with a major ad agency that has a large international program where they move their people around, and they bought a large license to prep people for those trips. So, that's kind of it's a perk for them. So yes, that is a use case, but honestly, I'm a little more excited about the use case where I feel we can really make a difference, which is around safety.
Oh, yeah.
In a lot of our B2B situations, we have workers in, say, meatpacking or manufacturing or warehouses, and there are safety issues if they can't communicate with their teammates or their managers. So, making the chance for Babbel to improve the safety of people's jobs, but also their career prospects, their earning potential, that's really exciting.
Hey, do you ever worry? It's so funny. We had a conversation with our Rachel Metz, who covers all things AI and all the stuff that's going on. Are you worried though at all about chatbots kind of replacing some of what you do? And I'm like even amazed on my phone. I can type something and it translates it right away and it just sends it off to whomever. So I do think about that. That is potentially a threat to what you do. So I'm curious, does it keep you up at night, or how are you thinking about that, and how it applies to kind of what you do, or maybe how you guys adapt to that?
There's kind of fringy use cases where that can erode the need to learn a language if you're just using it for those sort of transactional interactions. Our learners, generally speaking, want to communicate. They want to learn a language to speak to someone, to take that trip, because their mother-in-law speaks a different language, whatever it is. And, people already, 5 years ago, people went traveling and held up the phone, to use as a live translator. So that use case, I think, is already well established, and we don't worry that much about that. Our purpose as a corporation is creating mutual understanding through language. So, mutual understanding is really much deeper than
Yeah.
quick translation.
Well, speaking of AI, Carol brought it up. Are you using and integrating AI tools at all in the way that you develop courses, the way that teachers develop courses, and then deploy that for people to learn?
We are, and which is very exciting. We've actually had a machine learning and AI in the product for a long time now. One of the key concepts that you find in our product and in language learning in general is this notion of spaced repetition, where we bring things back to you and remind you of what you've already learned. And so there's quite a bit of machine learning in the product that does that, just to use one example. And we see we're in the works direct features where a consumer can interact directly with the AI and have a conversation and get training that way. So yeah, we think that AI is fantastic, augmented by HI, the human intelligence. Those two go together really nicely.
So how do you think that will change the way the business is run in terms of margins, or in terms of, how you guys are able to run the business? Does it have
That's a great.
does it have an effect on the bottom line?
I hope so, because otherwise, I mean, it's expensive to use AI. So if we only add costs and don't figure out how to be more efficient with it, we will have a problem. We actually have initiatives kind of across the whole organization to use AI and to come up with use cases and experiments, et cetera. So everything from marketing, copywriting to, um, deep feature development in the product. We're embracing AI. But we don't really have any. I think we expect there to be cost savings that come out of this, but we're starting really more with the efficiency, productivity, and user experience as the primary goals.
All right, Julie, where we started. So I am curious, New Year resolutions. Do you find a jump in people on your platform at the beginning of the year because they're like, yeah, I think I want to lose some weight and I want to learn a new language? Just give us an idea. We have about 30, 40 seconds left.
100%. January is the biggest month of the year. Every year, it's super important, and people tend to subscribe in January and then they really use it. So our job is to keep them going throughout the year, but absolutely. And if you think about it, January sets you up for your spring and summer travel. So it's very important.
All right, so what's the weakest month? I'm curious now that we went down this path. Just got about 15 seconds.
The dead of summer, especially in Europe, where everyone's traveling, like they're getting the payoff for all that work they've done to learn the language in the summertime.
I want to drink the margarita rather than learn the language of
like I said, they go hand in hand. You got to be on the ground in that country to actually learn the language as well. That's a big part of the education.
I totally agree. You immerse yourself in it.
Yeah.
But this is a good starting place. Julie, thank you so much. Happy New Year. Julie Hansen, U.S. CEO of Babbel, joining us on Zoom in New York. Great to check back with her.